Hi everybody, thanks for watching. Please give me a like and subscribe if you would. It really helps me with the algorithm. Today I'm going to talk about a subject that I had no intention of talking about, but I still get all the emails and the messages asking me to tell everybody what is the right flavor or distro of Linux to load. A lot of people are wanting to try it. And I think they're wanting somebody to tell them which Linux distribution is the right distribution for them. And just because a Linux distribution is a right distribution for me doesn't necessarily mean that that distribution will be the right distribution for them. A lot of people want me to comment on it because they know over the years I've continually tried a lot of distributions, which is true. Not to distro hop, I loaded them to see how they performed and performed more importantly with what I use a computer for. I'm mostly mundane. Besides a little video editing, I mostly just write letters, in LibreOffice, or I browse the web, or I check on things about the trucking industry on the web, more specifically a lot. And I watch YouTube and some Facebook. But I don't play games. So if you're a gamer, I can't help you out at all because I've never played a game on a computer or really anything else ever. I don't care about gaming. So when you ask me which distro you should use for gaming, the truth is I really don't have a clue because I don't do it. I could go on YouTube and listen to what a lot of these guys are talking about and tell you what they said, but I won't do that because I don't know that to be a fact. So when you take gaming out of the mix and just have your generic computing base that I use, almost every distribution of Linux would work just fine for the mundane things that I do use a computer for. Now, before in a past life, I used the computers for networking, and that made all the difference in the world as to which distribution I would use, connecting to the Cisco routers and all these kinds of things. But I don't do that anymore. And so I can't even speak to that too much anymore, although I do a little bit of it here at my house. But I'll be quite honest with you, although I have machines, even newer machines, that I try various distros on, I have two that I don't change. My primary workstation, which I use, is Ubuntu. And that's pretty much been that way since Ubuntu came out with the first, what I call graphical interface system. And I use Kubuntu, the one that starts with K, Ubuntu. uh, because I like to use that on my laptop, so I keep track of what uh, KDE Plasma is doing. And on the regular Ubuntu, they got GNOME 3. All I can tell you on that, do I think one is superior to the other? No. It's the same old story, doing the same thing in different ways. Same thing with Windows, same thing with Mac. They do the same things, just a different way. Sometimes using different programs, blah, blah, blah. Do they do different things? Not really. Not for the stuff I do. They all do the stuff I do. And so it's the same thing a different way. I cannot and will not tell you what is the best distribution for you. I don't know what your preferences are. And sometimes a lot of people, when they're first getting into Linux, don't really know what their preferences are either, because they haven't seen all these hundreds of now distributions of Linux and which one really they prefer, because it is preferential due to what you like. And the other part that goes along with it is what you're primarily going to be using Linux for. For instance, if you're gaming, that's one track. You know, if you're trying to make professional grade videos, that's yet another track. If you're big into writing books, or even writing stories for your local newspaper, that could be another track, depending on what they prefer, the formats of what you're making to come out in, like what does the file got to be, blah, blah, blah. It just goes on and on and on. If you don't know the answer to a whole bunch of these questions, then I would say to you, to get started, I would look at Ubuntu or Fedora, or Linux Mint, because I think if you're just starting and you don't have a real set path you got to go down, I would look at them. I would even look at the Chinese Deepin Linux, which not too long ago I did a vlog on. I was highly impressed with the Deepin Linux. But you got Zorin, which is a first-rate distro that you may want to start off with. I think that would be a good choice as well. Linux Mint Cinnamon is a really good choice. I mean, the number of good choices now is so many. But for me to tell you what is the best one for you, like in the last couple of weeks, I got 28 emails and a whole bunch of messages saying, tell me which Linux distro I should be using. Well, the short answer is, like I said, I can't. I don't know your preferences. I don't know what you like. In most cases, the people who email me, I don't know if they want a game or if they want a work computer, a workstation type deal. I don't know what they want. Do they just want an at-home computer for the 12-year-old girl? I don't know. And what would the 12-year-old girl prefer? Without sitting down and talking to her and showing her a bunch of these distros, I couldn't even do that. So you see these guys on YouTube making these videos saying, oh, you got to switch from Windows. Well, I do believe you need to be switching from Windows, because Microsoft has lost all of its credibility and they don't own your computer, you do. And sending all of your information back to their servers so they can sell the raw data is just crazy. So I think I can't tell you where to start. I can give you a range of distros to look at first.